have just taken a tour of the museum, and the museum has the name of the International Museum. But what I want to do, and so when you went through, you saw a panorama of kind of what happened in the civil rights movement in terms not only locally but nationally and internationally. Our focus is on Greensboro. What happened in Greensboro? Greensboro was important to the civil rights movement. Tom Dent, in his book, A Southern Journey, said when he got ready to write the book, he came back to Greensboro to begin that retracing the civil rights movement through the South, because at every juncture in our movement as a people, whether it's the civil rights movement, the Black Power movement, the Pan-Africanist movement, things happen here in Greensboro. Greensboro was kind of the spark plug for a lot of these events. And so that's what we want to do. We want to focus on Greensboro. A lot of times when we do, and particularly during the month of Black History, we started talking about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and Jackie Robinson and all these people, as if history doesn't occur in our own community. It occurs outside of the community. That nothing really happened. And that's not true. I mean, Attorney Johnson back there. You know, there are firsts in this community. Attorney Johnson was the first black to graduate from law school at Duke University. Did you all know that? But we see other people as first. We don't see people in our community as being first. Jackie Robinson was the first player supposedly in the major leagues. But there's a man by the name of Tom Alston. Have you ever heard of him? Tom Alston. The first African American to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. So we have people in this community that distinguish themselves throughout the state, the nation, and the world. And so my focus is always to come back to Greensboro. And so today what we want to do, and I gave you a handout that talks about the civil rights movement in Greensboro and the three phases of that movement. One was the February 1 sit down downstairs in Woolworth. The second was the protest at the movie theaters in 1961. And by the way, one of the other things we try to do is make sure that we keep the history correct. I was reading the paper Sunday, and there was this is Women's History Month, and there was a quiz in the paper about women and events, and so the question was Bennett College women, and the answer would have been the movie theater demonstration, 7 women at a demonstration in 1961. Well, that's not correct. I was one of the people who, I wasn't a Bennett student, I was one of the people along with Robert Pat Patterson and Bill Thomas who started the demonstration in 1961 at the movie theater. That doesn't say that Bennett women weren't involved, because in 1937, Bennett women started a demonstration at a movie theater. So if that would have been correct if they had used not 1961, but used 1937. So our thing is to try to keep the history straight so that people understand it. And so then the last movement is the 1962-63 demonstration, which was very large demonstrations, and I have pictures out here, and you can go out and look at them at some point. But William Chafe, who is a history professor at Duke University and wrote this book on Greensboro, and you should try to get this book. It's called Civilities and Civil Rights, the Greensboro Story. Chase says that the demonstrations in Greensboro were perhaps the largest demonstrations in the South. We know of Birmingham because of the bombing, the dogs, the fire hose. But in terms of sheer numbers of people in the streets and people getting arrested, Greensboro was the place. I mean, there were nights we would have people coming down the Market Street from Haystack to YMCA, where you had hundreds of people walking, you know, and people of all classes, all ages, you know, in these silent marches. So Greensboro was very significant, very important to this whole process. What we wanted to do is to show you two short DVDs to kind of show you some of the people who were involved in the Green Grill movement. And then after that, we'll open it up for questions.